In a move that has both shocked and terrified the whole of South Africa, Judge Brad Wanless has granted Katie Molefe, who General Mkanasi, South Africa's bae, has accused of being a member of one of the big five cartels. He has granted him bail.
In other breaking news, controversial businessman Katiso Molefe has been granted 400,000 rand bail by the High Court in Johannesburg. Molefe is accused of killing music producer DJ Sumbody and his bodyguard in 2022. He also faces charges for the murders of Hector DJ Vintos Buthelezi and Vereniging-based engineer Armand Swart. The Alexandra Magistrate's Court had earlier denied him bail in August.
The appellant is granted bail in the amount of 400,000 rand, full stop. This amount is in addition to the bail granted by the High Court of South Africa, Gauteng Division, in brackets Pretoria, under case number capital letter A 112/2025 in the sum of 100,000 rand.
The National Prosecuting Authority has expressed disappointment over the High Court's decision to grant Katiso Molefe bail, but says it accepts the judgment and will be studying it further.
Disappointing outcome, of course. We were not expecting such an outcome. However, as the NPA, we take it on the chin and we move forward in terms of studying the judgment of the court and to determine or craft a strategy in terms of dealing with the matter going forward.
The judge is saying most of the allegations are speculative. What is your reaction on that?
We were still dealing with the bail application stage, where the onus lies with the accused to prove that indeed there is an existence of exceptional circumstances which, in the interest of justice, permitted his release on bail. So the burden was more on the side of the accused than on us as a state. We have presented enough material as the state, though the onus was not on us. We believe that the investigating officer did a sterling work, working closely with the prosecutor. They presented enough evidential material to show the court the seriousness of the offences that the accused are facing, as well as information that supported our submission that he is a flight risk and that he is a danger to society, as well as the fact that there is a possibility of him intimidating our witnesses as the state. So we were of the view as the NPA that we have provided the court with sufficient information for it to arrive at an informed decision, and that the lower court had no misdirection on its part in terms of applying the principles of the law, as well as in assessing the facts that were presented before it. However, the court arrived at a different conclusion, and as the NPA, for now, we accept the court's decision. We will go and study the judgment.
Yes, that is true. He overturned the Alexandra Magistrate's Court's decision, saying that no bail should be granted, and has let him loose on 400,000 rand bail. Now, Katie Molefe has to report to the Morningside Police Station every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday between 6 in the morning and 6 in the afternoon, and he is restricted to Gauteng, although he is allowed to travel to the Free State and Welkom for business. And he has allegedly given his passport over to the investigating officer. Now, who is Katie Molefe? Well, Katie Molefe is a tender entrepreneur. We know that according to General Mkanasi, as well as Fani Masamola's testimony, as well as General Kamala, that he has been implicated as being one of the big five in these big five cartels.
The big five has already penetrated the political sphere, and there are documented cases of high-profile connections in the political arena, senior politicians alleged to be complicit and or willfully blind to the syndicate operations. On
General, you say it's one of their hallmark features that they've penetrated the political sphere. Is this unique to the Big Five, this penetration into the political spheres?
It is a normal characteristic of a cartel, but then this cartel being under investigation, there are already documented cases that are talking to that.
Beyond this brazenness, basically, of trying to infiltrate those in the judiciary as well as those who are in the political sphere, the Major General also spoke about some of the activities that they do, especially if they are day-to-day businesses that include the drug trade, that include human trafficking, that include carjackings. If that is not working out, these individuals do not hesitate to go the extra mile of even going into ATM bombings and other illegal activities that basically show the brazenness of their goals as well as some of the workings that they do. But let's take a listen to what Khumalo had to say about this.
The syndicates attached to the cartel, this criminal activity is used as a quick cash flow exercise for the cartel in case then there are hiccups with the main criminal activity that the cartel is specializing on.
Of course, that whole description of how the workings of the cartel basically work was in order for Mr. Khumalo to go through the text messages and the chat messages that they received after the arrest of Vusi Matlala, basically saying that there is communication that shows all of these workings when it comes to the cartel and just how they are connected to politicians as well as business people. But we are going to go into the meat of that testimony when it comes to his testimony that is going to be given tomorrow. But for now, that is the main crux of what came out of today's testimony for you. Back to you in studio.
And these are all just allegations at this point. We know that he was arrested on he was arrested in July 2025 by the South Africa Political Killings Task Force, that same task force that the now suspended Minister of Police, Senzo Mkhunu, tried to get disbanded. Now, he is accused of masterminding the murders of popular music producer DJ Sumbody. And according to General Kanasi, the reason that murder happened was because DJ Sumbody stole substances, if you know what I mean, from KT Molefe, and KT Molefe didn't like that. So according to General Kanasi, he had him murdered. Now,
because of these DJs is drug related. When the picture you're going to see when the matters gets to court is that this one thought he's clever by stealing this one's drugs and he starts selling them, and this one then killed him. So not to say the victim is a clean man on drugs.
We know that he faces multiple charges, including that of murder, conspiracy to commit murder, possession of an unlicensed firearm and ammunition. And at the time of his arrest, he was on bail for another murder case. Yes, you heard that right. He has been accused of being involved in the assassination of Armand Swart. Now, I will get into that shortly. Now, Armand Swart is perhaps the most innocent person in this whole situation because we know that he was a case of collateral damage for mistaken identity because he worked for an engineering firm, and this engineering firm was making springs that were worth, I think, a couple of rand, and they were being sold on to Transnet, which is a taxpayer company, a government taxpayer company, for 152 rand. So there were 8,000 strings that were sold, and the purchase price should have been from Transnet 25,000 rand. Instead, it was 1.2 million rand. And guess what? Someone was pocketing that difference, and someone found out and blew the whistle. 2 weeks later, the Armand Swart pulled up at work. He was assassinated. 23 shots fired into his body just because he resembled the whistleblower. It was a case of mistaken identity.
News 24 has been following the murder of Armand Swart for nearly 3 months now. He was an engineer working at a Vereniging firm, and he was shot 23 times on April 17. A car had pulled alongside his while he was waiting for a gate to open at his company, and they peppered the side of his car with bullets, and he died in his seat. News 24 can now reveal that 2 weeks before Swart was killed in a case of mistaken identity, the company filed a whistleblowing report with the Department of Public Enterprises reporting mammoth price inflation on a Transnet contract. It turns out that this company is an original manufacturer of locomotive parts, and they picked up price discrepancies in products that they'd sold onto a middleman who was contracted with Transnet. For a nondescript spring, no bigger than the size of someone's finger, which they sell for R3.20, the same product was sold for R152 each to Transnet. The net effect of this is that what should have been a R25,000 contract morphed into a R1.2 million contract, and 2 weeks after reporting this discrepancy, Swartz was gunned down. In this case, the police were quick to act, and on the same day that Swartz was killed, they arrested 3 men, amongst them a 30-year veteran police officer attached to the Johannesburg Central Detective Branch. These men are now before court facing a raft of charges, including murder and conspiracy, and if the state's case against them proves true, they are in fact a prolific hit squad linked to a number of crimes. We know that the police officers investigating this matter themselves have received threats. They've been followed from court, and they've had to contend with meddling from high-ranking police officers. The NPA and the police's own crime intelligence division have recommended that they too be protected in order to see this case through to fruition. The importance of a story like this can't be understated. The death of Swart highlights the peril faced by whistleblowers on a daily basis. The fact of the matter is that there are few protections for people who are willing to stand up and do the right thing. In this case, obviously Swart was gunned down in an attack meant for someone else, but the chilling effect will be felt because people will understand that should they choose to stand against corruption, or perceived corruption at the very least, they may pay the ultimate price. We all understand the vital role whistleblowers have played in the South African context, and that needs to continue if we are going to combat corruption. The reality of the attack on Swart is that it was obviously meant for someone else at the company, but now his wife will raise their 2 children alone.
Now, we know that the Political Killings Task Team, that they traced the ammunition and the bullets that were used, the shell casings, to other guns that had been used in other assassinations, specifically that of DJ Sumbody. Now, 3 hitmen were arrested. One of them, I think, was an ex-police officer who was involved in the Johannesburg Central Police. The mastermind of this is alleged by the state to be Molefe, who has now been released on bail. And this comes from evidence that was from his home, were raided from his home. Police found critical documentation that included invoices and money flowing in and out of accounts. And they were able to plot through the money where everyone went. And this was a very organized syndicate. We know that General Okanasi has come out and said that Molefe is one of the big 5. And we know that, and all of this money is related to a company known as the SK Group. And according to the evidence that was produced, this SK Group was run in a very organized nature, with individuals ranked according to their ruthlessness and their ability to, carry out orders. And we know that there was a huge money laundering operation that was allegedly also occurring, as well as they used some intelligence resources in order to protect themselves from prosecution. Now, how deep does the rot run? Does it go all the way to the top echelons of government? Because today I have lost a little bit of faith in the South African government and the South African justice system, that Molefe has been allowed, despite what everything is happening in this country, to walk the streets freely until his trial begins. Are we safe? Are you safe who have said anything bad about him? Am I safe? Is General Okanasi safe? Comment below what you think.